What's up, everybody? You're watching Model Aviator. I'm Adam. This week we have a new release announcement and review of an airplane from Horizon Hobby. This is the latest from E-Flite's UMX line, the UMX F-86 Sabre. This is a 30mm EDF powered on 4-cell, which is a first in the UMX line. It comes in your typical UMX box. It has a carrying handle. Those things are great for storage and transport if you want to keep those around, and it comes fully assembled. The Sabre has a 17.4-inch wingspan. It's 18.3 inches long. Our example weighs 5.96 ounces. You're ready to fly with the recommended pack. That's without the gear. When you add the gear, that only adds 4 grams, so you're just north of 6 ounces ready to fly with the gear. It has a 1010 8300 kV brushless motor, Spectrum A201 long throw linear servos, and is intended for the Spectrum 450 mAh 4S 30C LiPo pack with an IC2 connector. E-Flite promises a lot of scale fidelity with the UMX F-86, and I have to say that it delivers. It's one of the first things I noticed when I pulled it out of the package is how scale the gear looked. It's got all the gear doors, including the nose gear door. They really look the part. When you take the gear off and it's slick, it just really looks the part of a fighter, and this paint scheme is amazing. This is modeled after Lieutenant Jim Thompson's The Huff. That's probably the most modeled and most popular F-86 paint scheme out there. I mean, look at it. It's got a dragon on the side. I mean, what more could you ask for? Lots of panel line detail, and all of these decals are water slide decals. So the entirety of the airplane looks painted, including all the markings. It really does look the part. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, why don't they have a clear canopy on this airplane? And to be quite honest, I like a clear canopy as much as you do. I thought the same thing. But then I removed the hatch. This is a very compact airplane. The air intake is functional. You've got a bit of a cheater hole underneath as well, or cheater louvers. But right underneath where the canopy goes, you have the battery. So if you had a clear canopy, all you'd see is electronics, and that doesn't really look right. If you can't do a pilot figure and an instrument panel of some kind when you do a clear canopy, there really isn't much point in doing one. So I get why they didn't on this one. Being a part of the UMX line, obviously this little F-86 is only sold as a bind and fly compatible with Spectrum protocol. It is a 5-channel airplane out of the box. You have elevator, rudder with a steerable nose wheel when the nose wheel is on, ailerons, throttle, and the 5th channel can flip between AS3X and optional Safe Select. Safe Select also has a launch mode, so when you take the gear off, it recognizes the lateral G of a hand launch and feeds in a bit of up elevator to get the airplane out of your hands nice and smooth and make hand launching a non-event. It does come with smart telemetry capability if you have a compatible Spectrum transmitter. You'll get flight log information, minimum and maximum battery voltage, ESC minimum and maximum, on-the-fly ESC status, and smart battery status. The landing gear is easily removed and replaced in less than a minute. The nose gear door simply removes with a single screw. The nose wheel strut just pulls out of a slot, and the main gear struts and doors, which are one piece each, just unsnap and slide out of a slot themselves. Now we need to talk about this recommended pack. This is a Spectrum 450 mAh 4-cell 30C pack with an IC2 connector. And that IC2 connector could be the thing that not everybody is prepared for. The only planes that I'm certain of that have them are this one and the E-Flite Radix thus far. I think more are coming. That's a safe bet. So if you'd like to prepare to be able to use these, there is a adapter that you can use to tie into your smart charger and charge these packs up on your smart charger. You can also use this adapter on a standard charge lead and a normal charger. Since this pack has a balance lead, you don't have to have a smart charger to charge those up. Fear not, if you have 4-cell packs in that size range that will fit the Sabre that have a JST connector, you can use those with the plane. You just need to buy this adapter from Horizon and you'll be good to go. When it comes to setup, the little Sabre is a simple plane, and the setup is equally simple. The manual is a great place to start. It's written in the new format that makes programming your transmitter easy, and all the pertinent information is there. You have balance, rates, expo. Obviously, you're going to want to make sure all your control surfaces are centered like you would with any plane. The UMX F-86 has ball links, so that's made easy. One quick tip: when you are centering the elevator, make sure that you take a look at the end of the elevator and center it relative to the horizontal. Don't center it relative to the flat part of the fuselage at the root of the elevator, or you'll have a bunch of up elevator when you made in the airplane that you've got to trim out. Ask me how I know. When it comes to the balance point, we are a bit behind where the manual suggests, and with the proprietary pack, there's a good bit of room. It doesn't look like it, but you have to remember this is a small plane. So you have, that's the most forward position, that's the most rear position. There's about an inch, maybe just a hair less than that, which again, on a plane this size, is plenty. We flew the airplane first with the battery all the way forward, gear on. The elevator in particular felt very lethargic at that balance point. We really needed to get the battery back to fly the airplane with the gear on, so the next time we flew it with the battery all the way back. Plane feels good there. The issue is the stall characteristic gets kind of interesting. If you get slow and get the nose way up, you can kind of get stuck in high alpha a bit, and it takes a bit of room to kind of fall and roll out of it. I do that one time after a takeoff that you'll see. Will narrate, let you know when it's coming so you can see what I'm talking about. Not a big deal if you got altitude. If that happens low during, say, a flare, and then you get stopped and decide to try to punch out of it, you could be in real trouble. So what we settled on is about a ½ an inch off the front. That's pretty much dead center of the battery tray. That's where we fly the airplane both gear on and gear off, and it handles pretty good there. We actually went with a little bit of negative expo on the elevator. We're at 5% negative expo to make the elevator as responsive as I like to have it. I'm not saying you should try that first. Maybe try 5 or 10% positive expo first and work your way back from there if you feel like you need to. But I wanted it to be a little bit more sensitive for my taste. Our setup page is going to be next, so you can check out our full setup, and then we'll get to the flying. You're going to see a gear on flight and then some bonus takeoffs and landings. That's really what I like to do with this airplane with the gear on. When I want to hot dog it like a fighter, I take the gear off, clean it up, and fly it just like you see it. Of course, you're going to see a gear off flight as well. You're going to have to bear with that flight. It's really good footage, but we had a issue with our remote mic, and it was making some crazy noises, so we had to heavily edit that and add in some music. You can still hear the scream of the airplane, which is nice, but you got to bear with the music for that one flight. So check out the flying, check out the setup page. We'll see you back here, and we'll give you our final thoughts. The 4S power is impressive even with the gear on, but make no mistake, the plane is much faster with it off. There's plenty of sport and aerobatic capability with the gear on, but removing it renders the same result as it does with the speed. The aerobatic capability and responsiveness increases once you clean the airframe up. With the gear on, you can absolutely fly inverted, but it requires a good bit of speed and a lot of down elevator. We had a bit more wind than we'd hoped for this day, and I'm going back and forth trying to figure out which way I'm going to bring her in. Model F-86 is interesting. When you screw up like I did and really smack it onto the runway, as long as you neutralize the stick, it sticks. Doesn't really bounce unless you try to keep flaring. It holds a really nice wheelie. We've got some bonus takeoffs and landings for you here. The ground handling is very good with the little Sabre. And takeoffs, landings, and touch and goes are a fun way to take advantage of the optional gear. The stall that we told you to watch out for with the battery all the way back is coming after this touch and go. Going to do a vertical climb. And right there I'm pushing, but I'm kind of stuck until I let off the power. Then the nose will drop and I can roll out of it. It's not too eventful so long as you do it the way I did it there. If you stay in the power, it will pretty much hold you in high alpha. You'll be losing altitude the whole time with no control until you come out of the power and allow the nose to drop. We're going to turn around here and punch it, and you'll see it doesn't take much runway, and the initial climb rate is impressive if you're in a hurry. One more landing here, and then we're going to the gear off flight. We're not going to narrate that one. Enjoy it, and we'll see you back on the bench. And there we have it. So with the F-86, this is a good flying airplane, to be fair, but the setup is more critical with this one, at least for me, than most. With a lot of airplanes, when the setup is bad, the airplane flies okay. When the setup is good, the airplane flies good. With this one, when the setup is bad, the airplane flies bad, and when the setup is good, the airplane flies good. And it really has mostly to do with balance. With that battery all the way forward, it just feels sluggish and nose heavy, and I just did not like it. With the battery more towards the center of the tray, it is much better. That would be a safe place, I would say, for everyone to start. I would maybe possibly move it back all the way. Once you get used to the airplane, get her trimmed out, get a few flights on it, take it up high if you put the battery all the way back and check out the stall, because it is going to do something a bit different. The nose will come way up, and if you try to power out of it, you'll just kind of get stuck there in the stall. To recover from that, you have to back off the power, let it fall out, and fly out of it, which is not a problem so long as you have enough altitude. So you don't want to be doing that low if you have the battery all the way back. Otherwise, the airplane flies wonderfully with the battery all the way back. It feels much more responsive, which I like. And to be fair, it's really not that hard not to fly it into that position unless you're really trying to, or you make a huge mistake. When it comes to the power, the 4-cell power is very impressive. We have come so far. This is one of my OG MiG-15s, the UMX MiG-15. This is the very first UMX plane to my knowledge, and this thing barely has enough power to get out of its own way. And this thing is absolutely a screamer on 4-cell. It is the most powerful and the fastest UMX plane that I have flown to date. Very, very impressed with that. When it comes to skill level, Horizon says it's a skill level 2 airplane. I agree and I don't agree. I think if you are coming off a trainer, even if you're very confident in your trainer and you decide for some reason that you want your second plane to be an EDF, there are a lot of EDFs out there well suited for that, like some of the Hobbies. This one, in my opinion, is not. I think this would make a good third plane for someone. You need to have some kind of EDF experience before you tackle the little F-86. It's small, it's fast, and you need to have some idea what you're doing with an EDF, in my opinion. When it comes to the price point, it's $159.99, and we think, given how great this thing looks and how absolutely spectacular the performance is, that it's well worth that price. And if you decide that you'd like to add one to your hangar, we'll put a link in the description where you can do just that. When you go through that link, it supports our channel, doesn't cost you any extra, and we appreciate it. So thank you if you decide you'd like to get one through our link. That is it for us. Really glad to have the bookend to my MiG-15. I've been waiting on something to shoot this thing down with. There you go. Take care of yourselves. Happy flying. We'll see you next week with something cool with wings.